way back on Calvary. That's why I praise you. I lift you up and I magnify your name. That's why my heart is filled with praise. I love you. I love you. I love you, Lord, today because you cared for me in such a special way. That's why I praise you. I lift you up and I magnify your name. That's why my heart is filled with praise. That's why my heart is filled with praise. That's why my heart is filled with, because I love you, Jesus. And I worship and adore you. I just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. Hey, I love you, Jesus. And I worship and adore you. I just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. And that's why my heart is filled with praise.
And certainly we bless the name of the Lord and we thank God for this wonderful and awesome day in which the Lord, our strong God, has made. We're blessed by the ministry of music, by the incomparable Trey McLaughlin. I don't think there's but one. And so we bless the name of the Lord for him and certainly for the gift that he is to the body of Christ. To President Jones and to the faculty and to the staff, to campus pastor Felder, my dear friend and brother in the Lord, and to all of the students of my beloved institution, the college of my heart, Paine College in Augusta, Georgia. To the interim chair of the social science department, Dr. Elias Intengay, who served at the time of my matriculation at Paine College. He served as the dean of students. And sisters and brothers, I owe so much to Paine College for wherever I am now. I owe, and of course, I attribute that to the time I spent at Paine College in Augusta, Georgia. Dr. Intengay, when he called me about this social science chapel service and this chapel program, I said, hey, why not? Let's go back to chapel one more time. During my days at 11 a.m., I can remember walking across the campus of Paine College, going to chapel at 11 a.m. Y'all know back then we had to give our social security number or something. I think that's what it was, in order to validate that we were, in fact, in that chapel where you all are seated this morning. And so when Dr. Intengay called, I could not help but to suspend whatever I was doing today to make sure that I was able to be with you because he means so much to me. And Dr. Intengay has done so much for me and impacted my life in such an impactful and incredible way. And you know, that's how it should be. When someone has invested in your life, when a school has is the reason for you being where you are in life, you ought to want to give back. And so since I remember, although it's now well over 20, 25 years ago that I walked that campus, I remember looking at my watch, waiting on the time for whoever was speaking, whoever was talking, whoever was a guest to hurry up and to sit down so that I can get to that cafeteria, eat, and then get to my 1 o'clock class or even 2 o'clock class. And so since my memory is operative this morning, and I remember that so vividly, I'm going to move quickly into my message to you today. And my message can be found in Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. And the word of God reads from the New International Version of God's word. So the king asked me, why does your face look so sad when you are not ill? This can be nothing but sadness of heart. I was very much afraid, but I said to the king, may the king live forever. Why should my face not look sad when the city where my ancestors are buried lies in ruins, and its gates have been destroyed by fire? In that biblical text alone, you can see the sociological dilemma that Nehemiah faces in that present day of Judah and Jerusalem. And so I want to use just two words for our subject this morning: moving forward. Moving forward. You know, I must admit, and I'm sure a lot of you will be able to admit after matriculating at 3 various institutions and having to read a whole lot of stuff. I remember when I first entered and first arrived on the campus of Paine College, reading, unless it was for a class or for an assignment, was not something I was very fond of. Yes, I love to read, but I love to peruse and skim and look to the meat, the main idea, the substance of whatever the article or whatever the book was about. But reading all the pages of the book was something I was not really interested in. But that changed drastically and dramatically upon my arrival at Paine. And I never shall forget Dr. Evelyn, the late Dr. Etheridge. Never shall forget the late Dr. Marcus Clayton, the late Dr. Gloria Williams-Wade, the late Dr. Yvonne Shaw, who were leaders of departments at that particular time. And they would emphasize to me, athlete that's coming from the city of Orlando, that you have to learn, son, how to read voraciously. That's simply learn how to read widely. Just can't read the stuff you're trying to find, but you got to read widely. A few months ago, I started reading a book about the life and the work of John Lewis. The book is entitled, His Truth is Marching On, John Lewis and the Power of Hope. What a wonderful read it is, as we are now in that quagmire dealing with voters' rights once again in our country. John Meacham noted in his book, John Lewis walked with faith, and that tomorrow could be better than today, and that tomorrow was but a prelude to a yet more glorious day after that. And those words captured my undivided attention, and they have become the mantra during this period of COVID, especially in the fresh new year of 2022. I remember the words of John Lewis, knowing that tomorrow is yet but a prelude to a more glorious day. And so I don't know what you're battling as a student. I don't know what you're battling as a faculty member, as part of the administration, the various things you're dealing with on a daily basis. But one thing I do know, tomorrow is nothing but a prelude to a more glorious day. That's where Nehemiah comes into the picture this morning. Nehemiah is noted as one of the greatest urban redevelopers in the history of the Bible, according to Walter Brueggemann of Columbia Theological Seminary. Nehemiah takes an urban dwelling and transforms it into a thriving community. I don't want you to miss what Nehemiah has to do in this social sciences department chapel day. He's dealing with a dilemma, brothers and sisters. He's dealing with not only the cultivation of the church, but also the cultivation of an urban dwelling at this particular moment. Now, Nehemiah and Ezra, some believe historically, might have been relatives. Ezra, his primary concern was about the church. Hey, that's all Ezra wanted to talk about. That's all he was concerned about. He's concerned about the religiosity, the religious affairs, the rituals. that went on in the life of the church and the temple. Meanwhile, Nehemiah appreciated all of that. However, he had a passion and concern, and his passion and concern was sort of a duality, if would. He loved the church, but he also loved the community. And if you're going to be a social science major, you must love something about the community wherever you will be called to serve. He loved the church, but he also loved the community. He was concerned about the well-being of the community. Nehemiah could be described as a prototypical sociological or social science major. If he was in an institution like a literary arts institution like that, Paine College, founded in 1882, I imagine Nehemiah, upon arrival upon Paine, would look at the various majors that the institution offered, and I'm sure he would have settled right into Dr. Ntinge's department, the sociology department, and the social sciences department. Nehemiah believed that the government had to bear its own share of responsibility in addressing the sociological needs of those in the community. There's a problem in Judah at this time. The problem is socioeconomic, it's sociological, what's going on in the biblical text. And Nehemiah believed that the government should not just favor the wealthy, should not just favor the middle class, but Nehemiah believed that the government had a responsibility to also look for the well-being of the poor class as well. Does that sound familiar? In our particular day and time this morning, does that kind of sound like the quagmire that we're in here in America? When we have a bunch of politicians, their concerns are not about the socioeconomic needs of those in urban dwellings or urban communities. And so when we arrive to Nehemiah chapter 2, we find this great reed developer occupying the seat of a cupbearer. Now, students, don't miss this. Don't run over this. Don't allow your mind to run to that 1 o'clock class or to that cafeteria meal. I don't want you to run over the fact that when we encounter Nehemiah, who one calls the greatest urban reed developer in the history of the Bible, but when we encounter him this morning in Nehemiah chapter 2, we encounter him as a cupbearer. What is a cupbearer? He's responsible for tasting. He's responsible for drinking. He's responsible for making sure that the water or the wine that the king will take is not poisoned by anybody. It's interesting to note that Nehemiah's vision for Jerusalem comes about while he's in the seat of a cupbearer. He does not wait until he's an elected official. He does not wait until he's the president of a college or university. He does not wait until he's earned his degrees. He does not wait until somebody knows his name and know who he is and know his credibility. He does not wait, y'all, until he has ascended or risen to the point of being recognized by the witnesses and recognized by the people. But while he's yet a cupbearer, he has a vision for himself and a vision for the people that he believes God will call him to serve. He sees the blight, he sees the issues concerning Jerusalem, and he decides, hey, it's time to do something about what's transpiring in this particular region. Nehemiah teaches us, I want to offer you 3 propositions this morning. If you don't remember anything else, I want you to remember these 3. Here's the first thing I want to offer you that Nehemiah teaches us as we move forward. He teaches us, first of all, make sure you invest your time and energy into things you are passionate about. That's good. That's good. He says, make sure you invest your time and energy into things you are passionate about. The king asked him in Nehemiah chapter 2, verse number 5, and he answered the king, "Oh, king, if it pleases you, and if your servant has found favor in your sight, let me go back to the city of Judah where my ancestors are buried so that I can rebuild it." Come on, social science majors. Do y'all see that? He says, let me go back to where my ancestors lie in ruin. Don't give me a ready-made situation. Let me go back to something that's broken down so that I'm able to rebuild it. He did not want, and Nehemiah did not wait, sisters and brothers, until he became a household name or a shot caller to start making a difference. He makes a difference while he is yet a mere cupbearer. He wasn't on anyone's radar right now because nobody is looking at a cupbearer, but he was already a visionary. Can I tell y'all, when I was sitting in that chapel, I wasn't thinking about what was coming next. I was already thinking about 5-10 years later. Once I got out of Paine College, once I got out of graduate school, once I got out of postgraduate school, what my life would be like. Nehemiah embraced the hard assignment of making life better for others and rebuilding a place that some people were satisfied with being torn down. That's what he was passionate about. He was passionate about making life better for somebody else. You know, we just finished celebrating Dr. King's birthday, and in the month of February, we're going to celebrate everything Black history. I tell my church every Sunday is Black History Sunday. Every day is Black History Day. But we celebrate the life of King, and King asked this pointed question. King said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? As a sociologist, as a social science major, probably as a future social worker, whatever your life entails, it will involve you making life better for somebody else. In other words, if you're going to be in the social science department, you can't be just concerned about yourself. You ought to be concerned about making life better for somebody else. And that must be why Dr. Intege called me to come and speak to you today, because I want to challenge your mind, not just the social science major. I want to challenge your mind, education major, biology major, pre-med major, business major, whatever that major might be. Your life has to be about making life better for somebody else. And as you move forward, I'm a living witness that if you make life better for somebody else, God will turn around and make life better for you. So the first proposition I would like to propose to you that I see in the text is that you got to have in front of you something you are passionate about, and you got to invest in that. I must hasten because it's 11:27. Here's the second proposition. I want to make sure, you got to make sure you incorporate some discretion as you move to your next assignment. Yeah, I'm almost feeling like Sunday morning. I really need my towel, even on a Wednesday morning. Listen, Nehemiah says, you better make sure you incorporate some discretion as you move to your next assignment. He went to Jerusalem, according to Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 11 and 12. Y'all got to read the whole chapter. It'll blow your mind. He went to Jerusalem, stayed there 3 days. And I know discretion is so hard for college students. It's really hard for a whole lot of adults to learn how to keep their mouth shut and not share everything about their future with everybody, because everybody can't be trusted, because some folk you think are praying, P-R-A-Y-I-N-G for you. They're actually praying, P-R-E-Y-I-N-G on you. So he says, I didn't take nobody with me. In verse 11 and 12 of Nehemiah chapter 2, I went by myself. I stayed there 3 days. And I observed and I watched what was going on in the land. He saw the oppressors with his very own eyes. The assignment, this one was totally different from that of a cupbearer. Nehemiah, I want y'all to listen to this. He didn't have any enemies while he was taking a sip of the king's water to make sure the king is not poisoned. He didn't have any enemies when he was a cupbearer. But the minute he got his next assignment, enemies started coming out like cockroaches when the lights finally come on. You know, they go all over the place. I know some of y'all weren't raised in those environments, but I thank God for humble beginnings. And so Nehemiah now sees there's an enemy over there. There's an enemy over there. There's Sanballat over there. There's Tobiah over there. And there's Geshem over there. Everywhere he looks around, he finds an enemy, sisters and brothers, but he didn't have any enemies as long as he is the cupbearer. And what am I trying to say to you? While you at college, you may not have any enemies, but the minute they realize that you are more than just a college student, you are more than just what's going on in your life right now, enemies will come out of the woodwork, and you got to learn the art of discretion as you move from one phase of your life to another phase of your life. That's what Dr. Elias and Tenge tried to teach me one day back in 1999 going into 2000. He said to me when he had to have a one-on-one session with me because I was being everything but what I should be. me at that time, and I can't tell y'all exactly what he said. Those that know Dr. Ntinga know what he said. He was much younger back then, y'all. And he said to me, in other words, Slaughter, you got to learn what discretion is and what discretion is all about. Little did I know what my life would turn out to be. Little did I know I would be in places that I am. Little did I know I would be at board tables that I am today. Little did I know that I would be on the speed dial of the governor of the state, the senator of the state, the assemblyman of the state, the mayor of the city. Little did I know what was going to happen in my life. But what happened on the college campus of Paine College taught me what discretion was all about. And what Nehemiah does, he's able to rebuild the wall because he has discretion and he doesn't let everybody know his next move or his next assignment. Discretion will be critically important for you social science majors as you're dealing with rebuilding people's lives and rebuilding communities. You got to learn sometimes how to keep your mouth shut and how to hold some things in until you get you a good therapist. Then you can let it all back out. But you got to learn the art of discretion. And I'm done. That's my second proposition. The first one simply is invest time into those things you're passionate about. As you move forward, you got to learn the art of discretion as you move to your next assignment. But can I tell y'all, and this would really shout, this is when the organ would really start in my church. You got to make sure, third proposition, that you put your future in God's hands. Make sure that you put your future in God's hands. That's what Nehemiah does. In Nehemiah, that's what he does in Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 19 and 20. He puts his future in the hand of God. He answered them by saying this: the God of heaven will give us success. That's all I really want to tell you. The God of heaven will give you success. Whatever you put your mind to, child of God, the God of heaven will give you success. Use what's in your hand. Don't worry about the enemies. Don't worry about the naysayers. You keep moving forward and put your future in the hands of God, because in your hands is your own future. In your hands is your right to pursue happiness. In your hands is an opportunity to make healthcare equitable and affordable as a social science major. In your hands is an opportunity to do justice as a social science major. In your hands is an opportunity for your community to have a voice. It's in your hands. But I say to you this morning, you put whatever is in your hands, that math book, that literary English book, whatever is in your hands, that biology book, you put it in the hands of God, and you put your future in the hands of God. And I'm a living witness. There is no secret what God can do, what God has done for others. God will do the same thing for you. So I want you majors and students at Paine College to realize the best is still in front of you. I know it's frustrating now. I know it's a hybrid world in terms of your matriculation. I know you're not getting the typical Black college experience that I was able to get, but I'm telling you, your future looks so bright. Your future looks so promising, because your God will grant you success. And I dare you, as you walk back to that dorm room, to speak over your life. God will grant me success. Even if you don't have the tuition money, God will grant me success. Even if you don't have all the accoutrements that you think you ought to have, God will grant you success. Keep moving forward. You may have to rest, but keep moving forward. You may have to job, but keep moving forward. You may have to limp sometime, but keep moving forward. And that's my message to you this morning. Keep moving forward. Thank you.
Good morning. I know Reverend is still on. I want to say, on behalf of our illustrious president and the Division of Social Sciences, we do appreciate everyone who has attended our program this morning. At this point, I can tell you right away that I have more appreciation for Reverend Slaughter because I just spoke with him last week. And he has a big church in New Jersey. And he did not think twice to accept the invitation to speak to the Paine College campus. And he said he was going to do something further. He told me he was going to send a Zoom link to all his church members. So at this point, I know we have at least 400 people in New Jersey listening to our assembly because he promised me he was going to send it to his church members. So I do appreciate him, and definitely I appreciate my students who ran this program, even though I threatened some of them that if they did not participate in the program, I have a grade for them at the end of the semester, which is F+. I'm very good at blackmailing. So guess what? They participated. I do appreciate all of you. And of course, let's remember the message the Reverend has given us. I'd like to extend that message not only from our personal life, but let us look at our institution. Let's apply that to Paine College. Let's move on. I will end up, I can't sing this song, but there is a reggae music which says this by one of those guys from Jamaica, which says this: better days are coming. Don't you cry. So that is the same message the Reverend was giving us. It's not only from our personal life, but our institution. So thank you very much for coming. And now we'll get the benediction from, I promoted him, Bishop Felder, Dr. Felder.
Let's stand for our Paine College hymn. Let me remind you that worship service will take place this evening here in the chapel in the Odeum and in the Fine Arts Center. Let me also remind you that we will have testing for COVID-19 is taking place in the Yerby House today, and throughout the day today. I encourage you to go by and get your COVID-19 test. Thirdly, I want to remind you that CeeLo Green will be here tomorrow at 6 o'clock, presenting his beginning lecture, his first lecture. Let me encourage you to please come and hear his lecture and to be prepared for the presentation that will be made tomorrow evening on behalf of the CeeLo Green contribution to our community. Now, let me invite you to pray with me. You have called all of us, O God, to serve your purpose in the world. Help us to see that purpose in our living today. Grant that our students, our faculty, and staff will somehow know that which you have called us to perform on your behalf in our living. Grant that we may go down from this place today knowing that we are preparing ourselves to be your witnesses in the world and to serve that which you have called us to serve, that purpose that you've called us to serve, that we may proclaim the unsearchable riches of your gospel in our living. As Nehemiah went about the task of equipping himself, nobody complained. But when he went to set forth to do that which you called him to do, there seemed to be challenges coming out of the woodwork. Grant that we may not falter because of the challenges that come, but may know that you are the God who has called us to serve you and to be your witnesses in the world. We claim these blessings, every single one, in the name of our blessed Lord, for you are the God of our salvation and our hope, and we trust you with our very lives. And so we ask these blessings with thanksgiving and the assurance of your blessed presence as we go down from this place today. Amen.
Brother Travis would like to say something this Sunday. Just give him a hand. Thank you. If I can have your attention, don't mean to waste your time. I like to tell a little story how I was lost and couldn't find my way. But then I met Jesus, and something started to change. I ain't proud of the past. I'm proud of the fact that I'm not who I was now. And all right.